Good day, everybody, and welcome to episode 98 of the Teacher Emilio podcast. I am your host, Emilio. Today, let's get together. Let's talk a bit about voice notes. I feel like this episode, rather than a podcast, we could call it a very long voice note. And, funny enough, I call some of my voice notes a podcast. Anyways, bad joke to begin the episode. But I want to say a big thank you to those of you who voted on Instagram and shared your opinion. I was asking you guys, what do you think about voice notes? If you like them, if you don't like them, if you hate them even. And this came from some of you who were suggesting, hey, teacher, you should get everyone's opinion or ask people to see their opinion or to see what everyone thinks based on different topics. So thank you, because again, this is a new initiative in the podcast. And again, looking at the bright side, it looks like for many of us, voice notes are a thing that we all like. And part of me feels that it could be, I don't know if it is only for those of us who are not in our home country. And as you know, I'm originally from Venezuela. And lots of, my students, lots of you guys listening, lots of my friends in Australia. While I do have friends that are from here, lots of people are from different places. Lots of friends and students are from different parts of South America, Central America, basically from Mexico all the way down up until Argentina, Europe, as well as Asia, all throughout Asia. And I don't know, I get a feeling that we might be using voice notes a bit more than others, because maybe if I were to live in Venezuela, I would just call people. I don't know, that's my guess. Or maybe I would be using voice notes to talk to friends who are overseas. So it might be a feature mainly for people who live overseas. And for this, please let me know what you think. Drop me a comment either here on YouTube, or if you are one of the OGs on Spotify, let me know, leave me a comment. I would love to know what you think about this. And voice notes, as I was saying before, it is something that I use on a regular basis. It is such a good sweet spot between talking to someone on the phone while also not talking on the phone and yet communicating and simulating as much as you possibly can a conversation on the spot when you wouldn't be able to do it. One of the bad things about being in Australia is that obviously we're very far from everyone, but that's also the time zones. Because for all my Latinos, I'm sure you know, right now, for example, it is 7:15 p.m. So that means that our friends and families, wherever you are from, are most likely waking up. And it is most likely, look, I think depending on the country, anywhere between 4 and 7 a.m., making it a challenge, to say the least, to stay in touch, to have a normal phone call like you would normally do it. And this is where the voice notes can be so useful. Or like I said, this is also one thing about me. Do let me know what you think, but if a voice note is 4 minutes or longer, I call it a mini podcast. And then if it is 6 minutes or more, I would call it a podcast. And I'll tell this to some of my friends. And you know who you are. I would say to some of my mates, bro, please send me a podcast. Tell me about that update. Or I would see a photo on social media and it's like, bro, send me a podcast. Because again, with life, with all the different time zones, it's tricky. It's tricky to organize a time. And when I think about it out loud, look, sometimes it would be like this. Okay, so what time are you free from work? Or, okay, maybe by the time my friend is free and I am free, it's like I have to stay awake until like 1 a.m. Or on the flip side, they have to stay up late. Or maybe I have to wake up like at 4 to 5 a.m. on a Saturday, Sunday, which is not impossible. I have done it. I've done it many times, in my whole life here in Australia. But it is difficult to do it every single time. And it goes both ways. Sometimes, as much as we want to, the same thing could be said with like friends, Some of my friends tell me like, bro, Emilio, is nothing against you. It's just really hard, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm stressed, whatever it may be. And this is where, again, the voice note is just such a good midpoint where you can communicate it is the closest to talking on the phone, as I said before, but you are not sending a huge text. I don't know. I feel like there might be different types of people. I don't know if this is me now being like a millennial right now, but I would much rather. It depends actually, but I would prefer voice notes over very long messages. There's nothing wrong with long messages, by the way. It's just that, I don't know, a part of me feels like by the time, if I'm gonna spend 2 minutes typing a long message, I might as well just record a voice note. One problem, and this is, I guess, something that could happen to anyone at any time, regardless of the language, culture, is that sometimes when you read a message, you might get, let's say, the wrong impression, or maybe a person tries to say something and maybe you are tired or you had a bad day. We all have a bad day, and then we take a message the wrong way. Oh, that has happened many times. More than once I have received a message and I just either send a message back or I just double check with this person on the other side, like, hey, are you upset? Are you angry? It turns out they are not angry or anything along those lines, but it could give that impression. So to avoid any possible miscommunication, I would just send a voice note. Going back to the findings of my intensive research using my Instagram account and using your opinion, it turns out that everything that I've been telling you is not only what I think. A lot of you guys also think that voice notes are extremely useful. Some of you said, I love them, I use them all the time. Some of you said just they're amazing. And it is probably that. And by the way, if you like voice notes, I'll tell you a tip that really changed my mind. If you do get a podcast, or if you are short in time, or if you think, oh my God, I don't want to listen to 2 minutes of a short voice note, whatever the reason might be. I didn't know this. This is a game changer. So here I go. You can just press it and then it's gonna go 1.5. So if you have a friend or someone who speaks very slowly, you can be even more efficient and just listen to them like and then you save a bit of time. But I'm sure, interestingly enough, in my mini research, almost nobody, or I would say no one, said, oh, I don't like them. But I do get the feeling that there are people out there who really don't like voice notes. One really good friend of mine, I would send him messages, long messages, voice notes, but even especially when I send a voice note, he would almost never send a voice note back. And that's not to, complain or anything. It's just to bring up the point that there may be some people who simply don't like voice notes for whatever reason it might be. And as efficient as they can be, sometimes it is tricky when you maybe expect a short voice note and boom, you get a podcast. 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. Just recently, I sent to a good friend of mine. We always tell each other that, like, bro, send me a podcast. And I sent this friend like an 8 to 9, even 10-minute voice note. I think one voice note was over 10 minutes, but let me know what you think. Am I the only one who does that? Do you also do it? I would love to know. So please feel free to share your views, your opinion. And to me, now feeling a bit more, not necessarily like a millennial, but I'm going to tell you a bit of a grandpa moment. Maybe some of my friends or people watching may identify with this. But in all seriousness, when voice notes were not that popular, they started to become such a game changer, because I remember that many times when I first came to Australia, I wanted to maybe talk to someone. Because of this time difference, it was really hard. And it was always a matter of waiting for 6 hours or more to call friends, to call family. And I'm sure, I don't mean it in a bad way or anything, but I wish that voice notes were a thing back when I first came to Australia, because then that can really help. It is, again, like closer to keeping a conversation. And especially in those times, maybe if you get really homesick and you want to talk to someone, maybe hearing someone, that would be just unreal. I thought of making this episode also because I was talking to one of my friends, and funny enough, it was like a voice note conversation. I would receive a voice note for like 2 minutes. I send one of 2.5 or 3, and then another one, and then another one. So as I was, looking at my chat with this friend, a part of me is like, I could have just called him. It ended up being more efficient to use voice notes because if I was talking to the friend on the phone call, let's say hypothetically speaking, if I was, I don't know, doing something like replying to an email or checking something online, it wouldn't have been the same level of concentration. So I guess in terms of efficiency, sometimes voice notes can be really good because you might be doing something, you have a quick stop, 1 to 2 minutes, and then you reply as you are doing something else. And you may be thinking, yeah, but that is the same of a phone call, but not necessarily. What if, both of us were doing things like that? Then it is a very efficient way to, stay communicated or to basically, to have a conversation. I don't know. I think they're just extremely cool. And then, yeah, it's, I guess, again, my theory is that it is mostly used by people who have got friends overseas. It is extremely useful, and it is probably a very efficient way of staying together, especially when there are lots of updates or like there are things happening and you just save a bunch of time. It's not about not calling your friends, but it's also knowing that everyone is doing something. Everyone might be busy, or we are all dealing with something, and whatever that something is, sometimes it is easier to just wait a few hours, you receive a message, you send it back, and yeah, just voice notes. Love them. Even when people get in touch with me, hey Emilio, how are your classes? Sometimes I send them a voice note because I think it is probably a more personal way to connect with someone. They can hear me, so there is very little to no miscommunication. Not that anyone has said to me, hey Emilio, I didn't understand what you said. But I don't know. At least what I think is probably it's a different way to connect with people. Maybe it could be, I would put it similar to the podcast. We are connecting, or like we are connected, right? In a bit of a different way, but there is a bit of a connection because you are here with me and I'm here with you, obviously. And that is great. So, by the way, thank you for tuning in. Have to say, that, this wouldn't be happening if you wouldn't be here. So thank you. Your support means the world to me. And yeah, going back to what I was saying, I use them a lot with friends, with people. One comment that someone did put was, teacher, voice notes are amazing, but it depends on the person. And when I got that message, it really got me thinking, and it is true. Because sometimes maybe it is more of a confidence thing, as in maybe you wouldn't send a voice note just to any person, like maybe someone at work or maybe an acquaintance, someone that, yes, you know that person, but you don't know that person that much. Maybe for some people, voice notes are only for friends and family, and that's it. And in most cases, there might be a bit of a mix. For me, I'm very thinking about it. Look, for me, it's a mix of friends and students, and with family too. But actually, with family, it would be, I guess, a matter of waiting and then just, calling. That's probably the best one out of all, of course. To me, nothing beats phone call, especially now that we can get the, what was it called again? Like FaceTime, or that we can just call each other using these video calls with our phones. That is just amazing. To my older friends slash my millennials out there, if you were born in 2000 onwards, you may not know this, but do you guys remember the time when we had Skype? And there was nothing wrong with it, but hey, comparing Skype on your laptop with very bad internet, well, at least in Venezuela, or at least, where I lived, versus just using your phone, front camera, how convenient, how nice. So yeah, I think that voice notes may continue to be popular, and thinking about it, maybe like the older people get, maybe the more they use voice notes, maybe. I think that could also be a bit of like a theory there, but I don't know, because again, looking back when, I mean, not that I'm old, but when I was younger, he would be like, yo, what are you doing? Let's go. Or I would just, whenever I had a chance, I would be messaging friends or calling them. I would just wait and just call everyone. That was me. That's what I did, ever since I came to Australia. And then, not recently, but maybe for the past 5 years, then I've been like all in team voice note. But obviously, like I said, you gotta be mindful because some people don't like it. So I've got some friends, as I said before. Remember that friend that he never replies with a voice note? So I wouldn't send that friend a 5 minute plus voice note, because then it's like, oh, kill me, shoot me. This is, so boring. Or maybe I just don't like it. There are other people who may not like voice notes because they don't like their voice. In the podcast, right here, I've interviewed many people who are more than happy to come join me to talk about whatever topic it may be, to share this with you guys. And then after the episode, or when we check the sound, I would be like, okay, let's check the sound. And then they go, I hate my voice. That is something that could also be a thing. Maybe there is a lot of people out there who don't like listening to their voice, and fair enough, if that's the case, I mean, send a long message, send a photo, or keep it safe with the good old phone call. Something that I would recommend you guys, if you do like voice notes, I feel like I have to share this with all of you in case you don't do it. But with this friend of mine that I send him podcasts, by the way, you know who you are, and thanks for your support, bro. It means the world to me. What I would do with this friend, and what he would do as well, I know this because his wife told me, was that whenever I send him a 5 minute plus message, he would like either get ready, get a snack, get something, and then just go for a walk, listen to the voice note for 5 minutes, and then record a voice note of 5 to 10 minutes. So it's a good way to get your exercise in, This reminds me of the times when we had COVID, the lockdowns, and it was also so efficient. You would go out, record a long message, listen to another one, and then, you did a bit of exercise. You just clear your mind. So yeah, and I would do the same, by the way. So whenever this friend, sometimes I would wake up and have at least 3 voice notes of let's say, again, 5 minutes each. And then it's like, okay, good. It's time to listen to everything and then, send voice notes back. I think there are two major disadvantages of voice notes. And it is that if you get a voice note that is very long, you have to almost like take notes. At least I like to do that. Sometimes I've seen people who listen to my voice note and they put comments on what I say. I guess it's so that they don't forget. And I have been doing that as well. I would listen to a voice note and maybe have the notes app. And as I am listening, I take notes. Or also with like with future students, because I say, hey, tell me about yourself. And some people just, boom, straight away, they send me a 2-minute voice note, 3-minute voice note. Hi, Emilio, my name is such and such. I am studying at this level, or I am this. I want to get a skills assessment. I need to take IELTS. I need to take PTE. And they tell me basically about themselves. And, now that I'm telling you this, if that is you, or if you know someone who needs to pass these exams, don't get your friends to memorize templates or, struggle online on their own, or memorizing tricks that don't work. Just tell them about me. Tell them about this episode and tell them to get in touch. And also tell them to send me a voice note. I will happily listen to them, take some notes, reply them back, and I'll take care of them. And and by the way, thank you, because that is probably like one of the best ways to support the show. So yeah, interesting when it comes to using voice notes. And probably that is one of the biggest disadvantages, either taking notes or not taking notes, I should say. And the other one is, at least me, I would much rather, as soon as I think of sending a voice note, I do it, because then if I don't, the idea fades away, or maybe whatever I was thinking of saying at the time then changes. So for me, I would I am at least the type of person that I would rather, if possible, I would send the voice note right away, because then it's similar with messages. It's like you say, okay, I'm gonna reply to this person. I'll reply to this person in 2 minutes, and then it's been 2 weeks, and then your friend is sending you back a message like, hey, what happened? Why are you not replying to me? Are you ignoring me? And I'm sure that whenever that happens to anyone, well, maybe in some cases, yes, there might be someone extra busy or trying to ignore someone else. I hope not, if you know what I mean. But at least that has happened to me and with friends to avoid that, it's like that's my rule. Send the message as soon as possible, and that's okay. So that's what I would say when it comes to this crazy good technology. Again, this is just based on my experience. I feel that it will be good to hear from everyone else, because there are different, I get a feeling that there's going to be mixed responses. Luckily, most of the feedback was very positive, so it looks like a lot of people like voice notes. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And if you like voice notes, keep it up, team voice notes. If you hate voice notes, give them a try. And if you hate your voice, just record yourself and listen to yourself before you send it. It feels horrible, I know, but maybe that could be good practice. And then, who knows, maybe we can have you in Team Voice Note very soon. And well, group, now, maybe I was part of your day in your commute. Maybe you're relaxing at home. Maybe you were just, I don't know, going for a walk, doing something relaxing, and we were here. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Maybe this is, like, as I said, a bit of a long voice note. Let me know what you think. Miss me, I'll miss you, but I'll see you next week on the next episode. Take care, and once again, thank you so much for watching or listening to episode 98 of the Teacher Emilio podcast. Take care, and bye for now. See ya.